Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Underrail Expedition. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're chosen to join me today as we check up on how to kill the beast. We have this little borer, but it's the big borer that we're concerned about. Let's have a chat with Harold and see... No, Harold doesn't have anything for me. This is worrisome. I literally do not know where to go to have somebody analyze a mineral for me. Gorin? No. Well, I know somewhere. Oh, this is also locked? Oh yeah, we can go in there. Last episode we did a little bit of breaking and entering here in the SGS. Which was pretty fun. So this guy should be able to tell about the borer's psi signature. Cool. Cool. That is pretty cool. Hey Nadjet, what's up? Okay, and there's Wayne over there. Maybe Wayne is going to be able... Nope. Ezra is the only one. Harold seems pleased with that battery data you gave him. Very good. Oh, so that's what that was all about last episode. Because somebody said, I talked to Harold, and they were very happy. Good job. And I was like, what? I did? You did? That's nice. Okay, some interesting things in here. Do I have anything that increases my detection, though? Because more than what I have already, because I have some really nice... detection things, but nothing. I could buy some of that. Metathermics is increased by 11 on mine. This is by 17. I want better... Ooh, what is that? Circular? No. I can craft these, though. Thought control by 18. Yeah. Anyway, Ezra, I have... Could you take a look at this for me? Ezra looks at the restless creature, now at the apex of its aggravation. He focuses on it in silence, and as moments pass, the creature becomes more and more calm. Slowly, but surely, it reaches a point of complete tranquility and motionlessness, on account of which one could easily mistake it for being dead. Ezra? He turns to you. Where did you find this creature? In a mine in Foundry. Interesting. And are there any other creatures living among or in close proximity to these? Yep, creatures with shells made of rock that have metallic blades on their backs. Those are the only ones, as far as I know. He speaks, but more to himself than to you. I see. Another adaptation. It makes sense. And you, why are you so interested in this? Oh, he's asking me that. Why are you so interested in this subject? Well, the Foundry is having difficulties with those creatures, as they're infesting their mine. But the real problem is the beast, a creature identical to what I described. I didn't, but still. But much larger, tougher, and much meaner. And which means it's identical, because I didn't say it is... I didn't talk... Anyway, it's a big creature. It's kind of murderous all. And yet, as yet, there doesn't seem to be an apparent way to kill it. The creature, because of its heavy armor, is practically invulnerable, and nearly all who faced it lost their lives. So you want to find a way to kill it? Very well, I understand everything now. I'll tell you what you need to know. The creature you brought me is actually the larval form of the rock creature you described. As strange as that may seem, yes, these are their larvae. I don't know why it would be strange, but apparently it is. I've encountered them in the past, in different forms though. Regardless, I can help you find this adaptation's weakness. But for that, you will have to bring me some part of the creature to analyze. Oh, that's why I couldn't find anybody to analyze that, is because it's Ezra, except not immediately. Try to bring me a piece of its shell, or back blades if you can. If not, then bring whatever you're able to acquire. Oh yeah, I have all the things over here. I have one piece right here. Let me see it. I will be right back. And he takes the sample from you and leaves the room. I'm gonna wait for him to return. And I'm gonna fall asleep. See? That's how he does. I don't know why I didn't fall asleep on the other one. Ezra returned shortly, just as I expected. Yes? I've managed to analyze the composition of this impure chromium blade, and I emphasize this because over 90% of it is indeed chromium. But that you knew already. However, what you didn't know is that it is the other 10% that differentiate vermin from a walking apocalypse. Foundry, or the Foundry, is very unfortunate in having their surrounding rock made up of some of the hardest minerals in nature, for it is these materials which together form the living armor of these creatures. And I am not just talking about their shell, no. It is their whole bodies which are comprised of these metals and minerals, albeit in varying quantities depending on the section, of course. Chromium is in itself a resistant metal, but its strength lies in its high heat resistance. The rest of the materials serve to counteract mechanical forces acting upon the organism. It appears that in small creatures, this robustness can be overcome by conventional means, if barely. In the beast, I'd suggest you return to the foundry and tell them to collapse the cave where it lives and abandon them altogether. But that isn't an option, or else you wouldn't be here. Luckily, there's a way. By my calculations, and I've taken all the approximate constituent elements found inside the sample into consideration, the temperature necessary to melt these creatures' shell, or these creatures' shell, should be at least 2,500 degrees centigrade. Oh, it's with a temperature. Huh. 2,500 degrees centigrade. Again, not centigrade, Celsius. Or Kelvin. It's basically, this temperature barely makes a difference. I don't know if this is accurate in just from a scientific perspective. For example, copper. Copper is notably, if you have just pure copper, it's a very soft metal. It's well, soft as in if you hammer it, it'll squish. It's not very good for that. But copper can make bronze if you put it, mix it with, I think it's tin and a little bit of. There's two elements, but the other element, I think it's like 65% copper, 30% tin, and 5% something else. I don't remember what it was, the other one, but it doesn't really matter because you see those mixtures. That's what makes an alloy, which an alloy is necessarily made of different metals. You can't make an alloy with organic matter. That's not what an alloy is. Well, actually, in the term of the word, yes, it is an alloy, but just from a technical perspective, it's not an alloy. You can call it an alloy, though, because that's what the word means in English. But anyway, the point is, you make an alloy with different ratios. There are, however, alloys of bronze that have up to 95% copper, and it's super like durable and high melting temperature copper, or the alloy is just super high temperature. Like copper usually melts, I think it is at, I want to say 1200 degrees Celsius, but you can make alloys that melt at 1500 or more, which is a considerable difference, and especially because, you know, for technical work, 300 degrees Celsius is more than enough for you to have a margin of error and just be able to work on really hard things with your not molten metal. And especially because metal doesn't... It's not about the melting point, because this doesn't mean that it's melted at 2,500 degrees. It just means that at that point it's weak enough. It could melt at, like, for example, titanium... Not titanium, I don't know titanium. Wolfram. What's Wolfram called? I don't know what Wolfram is called. That's another word for the metal. There's a better term for it. Anyway, Wolfram it makes it's not magnesium. Manganese. Actually, I don't know the name of that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's made for filaments and things that are always at very high temperatures, like for lamps and whatnot, and I think for weapon parts as well. And it melts at 4,000 degrees Celsius. But at 2,000 degrees Celsius, it's already going to create enough malleability in the metal that it's not usable for machinery, for example, because the differences in measurements can jam the machine, especially if it's a weapon. So it's not about the melting temperature, it's usually about how resistant to heat it is. So sometimes, although not very often, metals who melt at lower temperatures can be better for high temperature work than other metals that do melt at higher temperatures. My point is the alloy thing. I don't know what he's saying here. The alloy of the chromium, I don't know if your chromium is very good. I don't think it is. I think it's very brittle, because a lot of the very hard metals are super brittle at high densities, if not all of the metals that are very hard, that's the word, are very brittle as well, so they break. And that's why you make alloys, because, yeah, you don't want that. So if you mix aluminum, or aluminum in this game, aluminium in basically everywhere except for the United States, if you mix aluminum with copper at only 5% of aluminium and 95% of copper, you get a super hard, super good bronze. It's called actually, I don't know what it's called. It's gold and it's beautiful. but you can see how unintuitive it is, because if you mix, like, for example, 10% aluminum, it's gonna be really soft, and if you mix like 2% aluminum, I don't think it makes anything. But there's like a percentage there that can make it very hard and break and brittle. But there's a specific percentage that needs to be all properly measured and stuff, that makes it super good and not brittle and just very good. And it's used instead of steel, for example, if you can't melt iron. Or actually, melting steel is even worse, because I think steel has a higher melting temperature. I'm not really sure. But anyway, that I don't know what he's going with that. And also Celsius. Ironically, let's see if it is ironically. Considering chromium is practically the essence of these creatures, this seems to be the most realistic way to defeat it. No, it's coincidentally, as the foundry is likely to have some means, be it a furnace or something else, which can... My god, your lines, Ezra! What's up? You always put things in the middle. I think it's just the writer's, not actually a character trait. So, as the foundry is likely to have some means that can melt chromium, be it a furnace or something else, hence producing temperatures this high. Oh, we can melt the creature. Are you saying... Okay, well, we're gonna melt the creature, I think. You can basically kill everything if you melt them. Even tardigrades and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. Really high temperatures will kill everything. Because that's what... It's so energy. You know, that's what temperature is. It just murders things, or just decomposes it, or the things. So it seems that I'm going to need a way to lure the beast into the foundry and kill it there. Anything you can do to help me with the luring part of it? And what will you do once it's in the foundry? What do you have a plan? Well, the foundry has this old large smelting furnace near the mine entrance. I could use that to pour molten metal onto the beast and kill it. No, you couldn't, actually, because heat transfer is a thing. You can put... Yeah, it could be that the creature wouldn't even feel the temperature. If the alloy is good... We don't know what the alloy is. He says it's 90%. That doesn't really get us anywhere. Even if he knew what the other thing is, that still wouldn't get us anywhere, unless he had seen the alloy already. Of the impure chromium. It's a good thing it is... I mean, it's a good thing for the creature it isn't pure, because otherwise we probably would just chip it with a thing, because that's how it works. As I was saying before, really hard things are brittle. My point is, heat transfer is a thing. Yeah, I don't think there's a very close attention to scientific detail here in this dialogue. Yeah, but basically, like, yeah, if you pour molten metal... Or actually, ideally, you would want to pour molten or something really high temperature that would allow you... That would have a high heat transfer rate. Like, for example, water is pretty good for that. Is it water? Yeah, water is pretty good for that. Anything that usually feels cold to the touch when it is at room temperature. Like, for example, water can be... Water at room temperature feels a lot colder to the touch than wood to room temperature. So they are still at the same temperature, it's just the water feels colder because of the heat transfer. So we're at 37 degrees Celsius, or whatever temperature you are at, and that's how it works. And the same happens for a lot of metals as well. If not all the metals, I'm pretty sure all the metals are very good heat transfer. They have very good heat transfer capabilities. So, yeah, that probably would be good. But the problem is the other metal, the other alloy, because there are alloys that don't transmit quite as much heat. And if the other alloy or the alloy of the creature isn't very good at transmitting heat, then the creature is not going to melt. I mean, you need to wait, basically. You need to keep heating it up. That's why my original plan was to put it inside the foundry itself. So, you know, it's going to take 5 days to bake. Sure, do it. Or if it's going to take 5 minutes. Sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. I happen to know from previous research how these creatures communicate. With the larval form you brought me, I think I will be able to create a device with which you will be able to use to summon the creature. At least it should. What do you mean it should? This is an improvised device that I'm making out of components I have at hand. Things can go awry. Maybe it'll summon the creature you want, maybe it'll summon something else. You won't know until you press the button. Making the device shouldn't take long, though. I believe I already have all the necessary components right here. Wait some more, would you? Absolutely. I'm gonna fall asleep again as I have hiccups, as I always do. He returns with the gift he promised. Here it is. Try your best not to disturb the larva within the device too much. You need it to be alive for the device to function properly. Well, that is good. What about plasma weapons? How come these are ineffective against the beast when plasma can reach insane temperatures? Anything can reach insane temperatures. I wonder what that means here. When all molecules are ionized, yes, plasma can reach, theoretically, temperatures in the range of billions of degrees. However, most conventional plasma weapons we have today use plasma where only a fraction of gas molecules are ionized. There are three primary reasons for this. First one is the technological limitation. The second is power consumption. And the third is the fact that the shooter does not want to be evaporated together with everything else around him when firing this weapon. Yes, because of heat transfer. Air is very bad at heat transferring, but it still transfers a lot of heat, and that's why I was saying it must be cheese and not literally molten metal, because people would die, because air also transmits heat, as you probably know, considering you are alive. How come you know so much about... Well, otherwise you would be frozen. Well, actually not frozen. You would burn to death. If air didn't transmit heat, you would basically overheat. Yep. How come you know so much about these creatures? Knowledge like this does not arrive with merely encountering something. I've learned quite a few things throughout the years. There are bits and pieces of knowledge and history everywhere you look, and over time, things simply accumulate. Isn't that the truth, Ezra? For everything, things and for knowledge. Does Biocorp have anything to do with it? I may have come across some of their research. It is hard to remember. All right. I think this is probably a very serious hint that those creatures are made by Biocorp. You mentioned something about adaptations. What did you mean precisely? You see, the larva uses its psi energy to cocoon itself inside living and non-living entities and tailor its genetic makeup to support the organism's further development in accordance with what it's merging with. Inside, the larva develops into its adult form, and the resulting creature is fully integrated with the entity of choice. So if the creature wants a rock shell, it will dig itself into a rock and fuse with it. Enhanced polymorphic organisms, and cymorphs for short. That's what these creatures are. Yeah, that's what I asked. Do you know what these creatures are called? Yes, they're called borers. That's what they're called. Seriously? He answers with that? Enhanced polymorphic organisms? No, that's what those creatures are. That's not what they're called. What they're called is whatever. You can call them whatever. Potatoes. They're called potatoes. Anyway, we have the machine. It's a cute machine. Look at that. Psi amplifier. This device is made specifically to attract the beast. Well, it's good against vampires then, or bad. But, I mean, it's bad. It's complicated. Anyway, let's go back to the foundry and see if we can find a way to fix this machine. I think that's the machine that we need fixing, although that looks very suspicious over there. Yeah. I mentioned before that we would need to melt this to make a weapon. I think I said that it would be to make a weapon against the creature. That would be cool. But it is sort of that. We're just making a different kind of weapon. Also, more ammo. This is the weapon, and the things that we're melting is the ammo. Or are the ammo. The things are. Anyway. Let's have a chat with Bernard over here. May I ask you how high this furnace can go temperature-wise? Oh, Gloria is very hot. I think she can go up to 3,000, even 3,500 degrees centigrade. Yeah, that's a lot, trust me. She could melt anything. Like, that's an interesting thing. How would you make a furnace that can melt anything? Because you'd need to make a furnace that can melt itself. That's theoretically possible. No, well, at first glance, it's theoretically possible because, again, it's about temperature transfer. Like, for example, ceramics are very bad at transmitting temperature, which makes them relatively good at making crucibles out of. Because the crucible is going to be the hottest part of the foundry, the whole foundry. So we need to warm things up from above rather than from below. I don't know if that's actually true, because I've seen crucibles being burned from below, but that doesn't mean they're... I don't know how that works, actually. But still, Energy transfer is everything. I don't know about that, actually. So I know ceramic is bad at transferring heat. That's why we make mugs out of it. Can you imagine a mug made out of metal? Yeah, you'll burn yourself. That's because metal is very good at transmitting heat. Anyway, I even told the mayor the same thing, but he doesn't believe me. He told me to shut my tick hole. Not the thick one, the tick one. Because he thinks I'm making it up to convince him to fix her up. Damn him. Yeah, I'll get back to you. If I'm lucky, I might be able to convince the mayor to get this old gal up and running again. Really? Oh, I'd be grateful for that, I would. But that man is on one stubborn son of a rat. So good luck for you. Or to you. You're gonna need every gram of it. At least he didn't call it every centigrade of it. Let's go talk to the mayor. The thing with the centigrades and them calling it centigrade rather than Celsius is more than just what is technically correct. It's also an insight into how different languages have different mistakes sort of baked into their language. Because I know that for a fact in Portuguese, people will say the word centigrades 99% of the time instead of Celsius. And I wouldn't correct somebody for saying centigrade and Celsius in Portuguese because so many people say centigrades. And I'm sure in... is it Romania? I don't know where the developer is from. I can't access the main menu or the credits here. But the main menu, the developer is not English, an English native. So probably in their language they also have the same mistake. It's technically a mistake, but the same technical mistake in their language where they say centigrade instead of Celsius. English, however, does not. People, well, at least in American English, you wouldn't say centigrade a lot, or at least I don't hear it a lot. Basically everybody that says... I've never heard, or I don't remember hearing any English native saying the word centigrade in the first place. I know what it means because I learned it, but still. It doesn't translate. That mistake, while technically it is definitely a mistake, it can be forgiven depending on the language, but not in English. Unforgiven. The mayor. Let's see. What can you tell me about the foundry? No. About the mine creatures. I've learned more about the beast and how to defeat it. I'm all ears. I forgot how the mayor's voice is. Yeah, the creature is highly resistant to both mechanical forces as well as high temperatures. From what I've learned, our best way to defeat it is to use extreme heat. Get it? Because of the pun? It's a pun, because the people in Core City say extreme. Anyway, temperature of over 2,500 degrees Celsius should be enough to melt its shell and kill the creature. Heat? Oh, I know what you're trying to say. You want to lure the creature inside the metalworks and try to kill it with molten metal. Is that correct? That's... I mean, there's so many ways of doing it, but I suppose perhaps using the large smelting furnace near the mine to kill the beast. Yeah, it would be a good thing. I even have a way to lure it there. That piece of junk? Please, that thing's been causing us more harm than good lately. It's been drawing more power like a trainload of coil spiders, and even caused a blackout in half of the foundry. Just recently, it completely broke down, and we won't bother fixing it for now, if ever. Forget about that piece of junk, and do not listen to Bernard. Don't. Luckily, luring the beast into the foundry would be a high-risk operation. The creature could go on a rampage if let into the foundry. Not to mention that the smaller creatures will most likely follow it. Yes, that is what I was about to say. And, even if you can somehow lure it in, none of the working furnaces can produce temperatures of that magnitude, besides the smaller ones that we use for melting chromium, but those are simply too small. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's true that smaller furnaces are better for making higher temperatures because of the dispersion of heat, but couldn't you just feel if there's even multiple furnaces? You just make them all work together. It does. Sure, whatever, but still, the answer is staring us right in the eye. We know what we're here to do, to convince the mayor to fix the machine. Anyway, the mayor takes a deep breath and regains his calm. Look, we are really thankful for your help, really, but the plan you're proposing is just too risky. We need another way. What can it... You jerk. Hey, Chief. Carrie, so far you've proven to me you are a woman I can trust, and because of that I have a small job for you. The Foundry Guard patrolmen have spotted a group of faceless just west of the Foundry. I would like you to go on a reconnaissance mission for us. We've been observing them for some time now, but their intentions are not yet clear to us. I just want you to try and find out what they are up to. Nothing else. Your reward will be 100 charins if you can accomplish the job. Yeah, I wanted to... I'm on my way. Can I talk to you about something else? No, I can't. Okay, so I think we need to go elsewhere before we can convince the mayor. How exact? Like the answer is right there. It's staring us right in the eye. He said, "That furnace, it's more trouble than it's worth." He even says that it uses so much power because, of course, it can go up to high temperatures. Because that's how power works. It's one of those things. Efficiency in heating. Well, efficiency in a design of a furnace is a thing, but you can easily measure it by seeing how hot it gets outside of the furnace. The cooler it gets outside of a furnace, the more efficient the furnace is. And that's just basically it, because it's the transfer rate, or not the transfer, the conversion rate between yeah, we're going to deal with the faceless. Between heat and energy is basically 1-to-1. Because, well, it's not 1-to-1, but it's not like, it's like, yeah, it's, think of a space heater, for example. Space heaters are really interesting because that's precisely, that's where we came from. Gotcha. Space heaters, like, for example, you have a space heater that consumes 1100 watts. That's actually consuming 1100 watts is not the correct term, but it doesn't matter. Let's not get into technicalities anymore. But it let's call it consumes 1100 watts. And you have another one right next to it that says, this is power efficient. Oh, Iron Grenadiers, yes. This is power efficient. It also consumes 1100 watts. They are both going to heat the same exact thing in your room. They might not be as fast. Ooh, there's a lot of bad things in here. They might not be as fast at heating up your room immediately, but they will make the same temperature eventually, because the temperature is all there. You can't put it anywhere else. It's not like it's gonna... It's a straightforward conversion. It's all about the energy. But anyway, we're out of time for the day, so let's kill these guys and go deal with the faceless in the next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Underrail Expedition. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.